Welcome. My name is Douglas Love Ramos. I'm the managing director of Orlando Shakes, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our live-streamed Q&A with some of the creative team of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So feel free during this session that we have together to leave your questions about the production in the comments, and tonight's guests will answer them live. So for the first time in 15 years, Orlando Shakes will be returning to its original home at Lake Eola Park to create a safer outdoor experience for our patrons and our performers. This is our first live-scale production since our theater closed its doors due to the pandemic in March of 2020. So we are thrilled to mark this historic homecoming with Shakespeare's most beloved rom-com, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Let's check out a short preview of this magical production.
Lord, what fools these mortals be!
In Shakespeare's charming romantic comedy, A Midsummer Night's Dream, magical mischief maker Puck gets hold of a love potion that sets in motion a series of wild antics and romantic entanglements.
The course of true love never did run smooth.
Enjoy love and laughter in a dreamlike evening under the stars, live at Lake Eola. See Orlando Shakes A Midsummer Night's Dream, March 31st through April 17th. Tickets at orlandoshakes.org.
Tonight we have a special backstage tour for you. Let's check in with our artistic director and the director of this production of Midsummer Night's Dream, my friend Jim Helsinger. How are things at Lake Eola, Jim?
They're fantastic. Welcome back to our homecoming at Lake Eola. I'm standing in front of the set right now in the seats. You can see it's all going up right now, and it looks fantastic. One thing that you might notice is up above is that big circle, which as the night develops turns into our beautiful moon. And as the love juice happens, our moon turns purple as well. So it's really, really looking beautiful here. Whoa, sorry, turning you away from me.
Look at all of those columns. It looks very Grecian.
Well, that's the setting. It's the Age of Heroes, 1200 BC. Theseus and the Minotaur. This is that Theseus when he marries Hippolyta, and a bunch of crazy things happen in the forest.
Oh, that's great. And our stage transforms into the forest, right?
That's correct. What happens is, as you look at it, let me try and get it. So all these columns open up. You can see a slit in some of them, and there are trees inside. There'll be greenery everywhere. There are Christmas lights hidden in all the greenery. That then become our magical light up forest at night. And it just looks gorgeous.
Oh, that's great. Let's see backstage. What can you show us?
Well, I'm going to head you down a little bit. Let's see if I can guide this in my self-tour. So,
I can see on the seats, it looks like where we have white marks of the seat numbers, that's where we're going to be seating people. And where we don't is what we're doing for social distancing to make sure that everybody's safe, right?
Well, yeah, let me turn this. If you look here, I don't know if you can see the white dots, but every other row is completely empty. So we have 2 people, then 6 feet, 2 empty seats, then 2 people, then empty, etc. We can accommodate larger groups than 2 if you call in advance, and just move them a little bit, but between every row is an empty row, and we'll be seating it's about 1,000 seats here, and we'll be seating 275 people.
Yes, absolutely. And then I know that we've been so grateful to all of the staff at Lake Eola Park. They've been helping us to load in. This is a very big production that we're doing, and I think a larger scale than they're used to having since we left 15 years ago. So you're walking backstage now, right?
The city has just been fantastic from the mayor on down, and the park has been such a friend. And we're a much bigger event. They're usually one-night events. We're there for 6 weeks, and they've just been great. I am backstage now. So one of our challenges is dressing rooms, which I'll show you in just a moment, are small. We used to cram 20 people in there. Well, we can't cram anybody during the pandemic. So we built these additional dressing room stations, which are here on the outside of the building. So they're all underneath tents. And then each person has their own area outside where they can be. And then a group of people will also be inside, which we're headed to now, into the regular dressing rooms, where we have regular stations for people. Our electricians are using that right now. And then areas additional inside for more people for our cast of 18. And then one of the nice things about being an actor here is not only you're outside doing a show, you're also at Lake Eola and you get to watch the fountain. I remember back in the 90s watching the shuttle take off.
Oh, wow.
In the morning, because it's a beautiful view all the way to Cape Canaveral from here. And I could watch the separation happening and everything. Really, really cool. So there's a little extra perk of being here at Lake Eola.
It's beautiful, and we cannot wait to take that stage and bring Midsummer Night's Dream to life. And we've worked very hard with Actors Equity, the union of professional actors and stage managers in the United States, to make sure that we are complying with all of the safety measures, and we test our actors and everyone in our, what we call our production pod, 3 times a week. For
correct.
COVID, to make sure that we're being safe and that everyone is healthy. So we're excited. I think, thank you, Jim. It looks beautiful, of course. Our wonderful artists and craftspeople who work for us are doing their stellar job that we always know that they do every production.
Our staff is tremendous. I'm going to try and see if I can show you Rob. Oh, it keeps flipping back to me. I'm trying to show you Rob Jones over there, but this is a selfie and it comes back to me. Not only, let me see if I can do it with my hand.
Look at those towers of lights.
Huge towers on the side. I'm trying to see. Yeah, on the side.
There's Rob Jones.
And there's Rob. And not only is Rob working here, I'm trying. Okay, I'm giving up on that.
That's fine. Just look over your shoulder. Let's keep it over your shoulder.
All right, that's where we'll be. So
we erected all of that truss work to try to accomplish our lighting designer's vision for this show. And fortunately enough, our wonderful lighting designer, who's worked with us many, many years, Philip Lupo, is here tonight. And he's here to answer questions that you might have as well. So please feel free to ask about lighting too. And Bert Scott, who made this gorgeous, gorgeous set that we've been admiring. You are Bert has done all of the design for the set. He's worked with us for many years as well. This is a real family effort here at Orlando Shakes. So thanks for joining us, guys. It's great to see you. It's nice to see you from your nose down. We usually don't get to see each other's mouths anymore, but we can only see that when we're in our own corners. Philip is actually at the amphitheater as well. So if you kind of look over his shoulder, that's the booth that he runs the lights through and is doing all of the programming for our lights, since they're computerized and very high tech. And here's Jim back with us. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about this production. I think that, we certainly could talk about how great this, original rom-com is, that Shakespeare kind of set the pace for many, many movies in the 80s and 90s and today. But what was it like? What are the things that you had to contend with in the age of COVID in each of your areas? Jim is not only our artistic director, but he is directing this production. And certainly we know that the process has been very different in rehearsal. And so Philip and Bert, think about what challenges you guys had. But Jim, what has rehearsal been like?
Well, rehearsal has been an interesting mix of just the thrill of getting back to work, of getting to do the thing that we love to do. That's been wonderful. And then there's been the challenge of, and don't ever get close to anybody ever. So we have to stay 6 feet apart the whole time. And there's a rehearsal going on, you can see, where we just have to. Now, luckily, our stage is so big at outdoors at Lake Eola that if people are 6 feet apart, it doesn't look odd. But when somebody is supposed to hand something, the flower, to somebody else, we often find a creative solution for every single time any people would normally, and is mentioned in the script, get closer. We hope we've found a lot of creative answers to that, and we try to let the audience in on it's a pandemic and we can't get closer. So you'll see some air hugs, some air handshakes, and I hope just a lot of fun.
Oh, it's so funny. I saw a run through the other day. It's really, really funny and so heartfelt. You know, Bert, how did the pandemic and the need to be 6 feet apart, how did that influence how you approached the set design? Because you've done so many designs for us. And of course, bringing this out of the Murchison Theater and into the Lake Eola Amphitheater, what were you up against?
Well, there are really two things. There's the COVID, the pandemic, and there's also the fact that we're doing another show very quickly on the heels of this show in the same space. So, but specifically for Midsummer, I was trying to find a place where people could be close together but far apart at the same time, which is sort of where all the balconies behind Jim came into play. So you can be standing next to somebody, only you're 6 feet over their head, so you're far apart, and that also helps facilitate a little bit the change into the next show. So that's but there have been all kinds of weird things. Philip and I have been dealing with a special effects element that was stranded in customs because of COVID for the past week and a half, and finally arrived in Orlando today. It was supposed to be here last week, and so it's just all sorts of crazy things have happened, but it's been a fun challenge. It's great to be back doing live theater. I've done lots of Zoom virtual productions in the past 6 months, and I'm really excited to see live actors without a screen between us, me and them, starting tomorrow in rehearsal. The actors will be on stage. I'm really excited to see the actors on the set.
Yeah, me too. That's great. It is so beautiful, Bert. You've really outdone yourself. Philip, I know that there's a challenge of Lake Eola really didn't have lights for us to use, so we had to not only bring in all of these instruments, but you had to create points and places to hang the lights and create the whole look. What challenges can you tell us about?
The biggest challenge was like you said, was creating this rig, was figuring out the most effective way to hang lights where they need to be. The lake inherently only has two large lighting tree poles that are on either side of the audience, and they don't create a lot of ability for any kind of significant side light, for any kind of depth, for that kind of stuff. And the poles are 100 feet away from the stage, 80 feet away from the stage, which creates a difficulty getting lights that are bright enough that can shoot that far. Years ago, when we were down at the lake, we'd have some scaffolding on either side of the stage that we use for a lot of the side light and stuff. Luckily, we've kind of come far enough in terms of the technology that we were able to use to assemble with our contracting partner some of these truss units that you can see behind Jim that you saw in the photo earlier, that we use some infrastructure that is part of the lake, some of those poles out front of house, to be able to stabilize, which allowed us a lot more accessibility in hanging additional lights, some moving lights out on a truss, which gives us different angles, some different looks, as opposed to just front light and just backlight.
It's so exciting because this is right in the heart of our city. This is bringing art back to the real center of Orlando, and it's been so we've all been on Zoom and we've all been so disconnected. So this is such an exciting thing for us to be able to bring the arts back to the very, very center of our community. So here's a question from Bryant. Considering the origins of many plays written and produced during the English Renaissance, what does it mean to trace back to the roots and origins of theater by producing a play outside?
It's very interesting when you look at our situation right now during the pandemic and compare it with, I'm trying to walk down as I talk here. I hope this is working with the camera. and compare it with Shakespeare's, because he had a plague as well. He had the bubonic plague that he had to deal with. And when they would do that, they would shut down for a while. Then they would tour the provinces farther away and eventually reopen. But he was outdoors the whole time. Now, granted, he was packing 3,000 people into the theater. But it was interesting for us as a group to say, we got to get back to performance. How are we going to be able to do that? Well, why don't we go outside like Shakespeare did, like we used to do, and come back to being outdoors? There's something just wonderful about outdoor performance, and there's something great about, I mean, we mentioned the moon many, many, many times in this play, and to go, that moon, and there it is right there in the sky. It's really something, and I love getting back to these roots. We'll be doing matinee performances where, we'll have lights that Philip's designed, but you're not going to see them in the middle of the afternoon. Welcome to a Shakespearean performance in Elizabethan England. 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. Well, not on a Sunday, they have boulas, but they're off doing the show. So it's got a really, their sets were not as fancy as this, but a lot of elements are the same as the Renaissance.
That's great. Thank you. And Philip, have you kind of figured out, because there's going to be a time, probably about 20 minutes. Is it 20 minutes into the show at 7:30 where the lights are going to start playing a bigger role? Here's a beautiful rendering of what the set and lights are going to look like when we're in the kind of magical fairy time of the play, when the moon is right there in the middle of the balcony. Have you kind of tried to time it and figure out when the lights are going to kick in, or are you just doing it from the beginning, and when it kicks in, it kicks in? I assume that's got to be part of it, right?
The plan is to design it full out as if it was happening at nighttime. Both because I believe we have a partnership with WCF where we're going to be filming, I think, a full production at night, but also because being out here in the lake for the last couple of days, we needed to focus the lights, and I can't see where the lights are pointed during daytime. So sometime between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, it starts to become bright enough. But we did have a day or two where it was overcast, and we could start to see colors and beams as early as 7. And so it becomes necessary to essentially design the whole show. The neat thing that we have, that I have as far of a toolkit for this show, is the lighting console we use has pre-visualization technology, which allows me to take Bert's rendering of the set and put it into the lighting console, tell the lighting console where the lights are hung in a 3D space, and then I can see on the console what the stage technically looks like if it were dark, if there were no lights outside, which has been great because usually I have some more time in the venue. Normally I'll come in the morning for a couple hours before rehearsal, do some programming notes, but if I come in the morning, I can't see the lights. So I've been able to use this software both here in the booth and at an office a couple blocks over to be able to get a sense of the lighting. And then the last couple nights, including tonight, we take those pre-viz renderings, they're called, and we put them on stage and kind of make sure they match up. And so that's the game.
So if we're driving by tonight and we see all kinds of lights happening on the stage late at night, we know you're hard at work.
It's me.
That's great. Lexi has a great question for us. It says, what is the creative process like to make sure lighting and scenic elements dovetail nicely and enhance each other? We want to talk about that process because, Bert is a scenic designer and also a lighting designer. He's worked in both capacities for Orlando Shakes for many years. What do you think? What's your answer for that, Bert?
Well, Philip and I have worked together several times. I think we work really well. We sort of speak the same language, and I think we're on the same page that Jim is on. So there's that, and then there's the technology. I have been creating sets in 3D for a long time. Philip has the ability to take them and put them into the light board and see what the lights are going to look like. So I think it's all about communication, and there's technical communication and there's artistic communication, and I feel like Philip and I do both of those things pretty well. We have hundreds of text messages over the past couple of days about details and things, So it's been really kind of exciting to see how it's gone together, and I feel like what I've seen that he's doing makes sense to me, and I assume that what I've done has made sense to him. So it seems like it's working really well together. But it's really all just about talking it out and making sure everybody understands the goal, and we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. From an artistic perspective, we come into design meetings months and months before we open, and that the ability to have those meetings and have everybody, both Jim or whoever the director is, as well as all the designers, come together and share their ideas almost all the time organically, some vision of the show starts to come together. And the fact that Bert has experience doing lighting design, I have found helps a ton for me, because I know that when he's looking at things scenically, he's also having thoughts about what it looks like lighting wise. I've worked with scenic designers who they just see the set almost like a white model, as just existing in its own space without being lit. But Bert thinks about ways to incorporate both lighting in the set and kind of the best ways for me to achieve lighting positions and stuff like that. And so a lot of it's communication, and I think we benefit from just naturally being on the same page with a lot of things. And with Jim as well. And I think that's kind of how it comes together.
That's great. John has a question. Is this a forward move that Orlando Shakes might try in future years as well? If it doesn't kill us, this is a real challenge to go outside. Certainly, don't you think, Jim, it's a challenge just because we've not been doing live performance for so long in the pandemic, just to gear back up and then to move everything outside. But you've been in this venue before.
Well, we were here for so many years. And then when we built the new Shakespeare Center, we had eventually 4 other theaters that sat empty while we came here. It just really didn't make sense to do that when we do have indoor theaters that do have air conditioning and more bathrooms, et cetera, et cetera. And so we left, but so many people over the years have said, when are you going to go back to Lake Eola? When are you going to go back to Lake Eola? And I was like, I don't know. Something will have to happen that makes us need and want to really do that. Well, something did, and here we are. So let's see how successful it is. And if that then, becomes a venture that we want to do again in the future. I don't think we can't say that we're going to do something again when we've never done it. Right. We have to do this and see where everything is. Orlando has grown a lot in the last 15 years. And we need to find out what the sound bleed is everywhere, what the light is coming in, et cetera. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think people are really going to enjoy it. And then we'll see if we can harness that energy into the future.
It's so interesting. Just looking over your shoulder, you see the tops of those columns. I saw them making those in our scene shop, and I thought, those are gigantic. It's like the land of giants. But seeing them in the space, the scale, they're perfect.
Well,
so,
they are massive. They are huge. I'll walk up a little closer to one. And let me try to, hold on, let's see. I don't know if you can see me and it together.
There you go.
That's the scale, right?
That is a big column thing.
I just want to.
You lose that perspective, right?
Yeah.
Now they don't look that way.
I just wanted to shout out to the scene shop there, the artists and craftsmen who built those. I rarely design anything that I don't already know exactly how to build it. And it doesn't mean they necessarily build it that way, but I always have some plan. I didn't really have a plan for this. I knew what they needed to look like, but I just sort of went on faith that they would figure out how to build them. And they really did an amazing job. And I'm just you guys have such great people working for you. It's really amazing.
Not only did they do a great job, and this is when the camera got altered. I was trying to show you, James Irwin, our technical director, broke his ankle right before we started building this show. And he's on a little scooter on his knee, going around, making sure this is all getting done. So that's the kind of dedication that we have. It's really amazing.
Well, thank you, everybody. So Lori has a question here. What are some of the technical advancements that have occurred since the last time you designed for the band shell at Lake Eola that you're using in this production? So certainly, Philip talked to us a little. We're going to have moving lights. We're going to have a lot of special effects that finally came from customs. What other things, what other advances are there that we're implementing?
Well, I would say
Yeah.
there are a couple of really significant changes in lighting that quite honestly would be real challenges 15 years ago. You can see the truss work, if I can swing around to that, that's behind me there. We didn't have that, so we didn't have as many lighting angles 15 years ago as we have now because of improvements in steel, lightness, etc. We have a lot more lights that don't need gels and can give us many LED lights that can change the colors. I don't know if Philip wants to talk about the advantage of moving lights, where really when you would have had to previously hang 4, 5, 6, 7 instruments, one can now cover all of that with the moving lights.
That's essentially what it is. In addition to the previs, the ability and the accessibility of having moving lights. And the majority of these moving lights out here are also what are called IP rated, which are waterproof, so they can be outside and they can be out in the outdoors for weeks and weeks and weeks. And the ability to have, even having 4 moving lights front of house, which is I think what we have, that replaces, I think in my initial paperwork, replaces somewhere between 35 and 40 individual lights that would need to be hung. So then one scene, it can be different colors. These have a very wide zoom angle on them, so they can be wash lights, so I can just give a big side light, or I can really hone in and isolate somebody. The ability to drop in 16 different kind of gobos, which change the texture of the light. Nut gels not burning out is a big thing, both in terms of dispensable cost and in terms of labor of having to go up, change a gel, and come back down. And then having those moving lights also helps this previs, because I can sit behind and I can tell in the console where I want the lights to point and do it all virtually, and then come into the space, bring them up, and then they're all pointed there. And so that's been a huge advancement that has really helped both this and a bunch of other productions as well.
There's also some wireless lighting technology built into one of the scenery pieces. That's something that didn't exist 15 years ago. And something the audience won't really see, but the set is interesting, is that some of it was cut out by computer-controlled machinery, which really sped up the process, which gave the folks at the shop the time to spend on the things that had to be done by hand, like the columns. So it's really harnessing the technology to do the things the technology can do well, to give the folks the time to do the things that the people do well. So it's so much stuff has changed in the last 15 years.
Here's a question from Brian. It says, out of all the plays ever written, created, why produce this play? Why is this play important to produce today?
Well, we had already announced our season when we went into the shutdown for the pandemic, and we were going to do Shakespeare's Wars of the Roses, the most ambitious thing we had ever done. 3 plays, all in rotating repertory, all performed during the same day at one time. And we all know from a pandemic, you don't want to be indoors all day long doing something with a whole group of people. So we had to change that. And we are gonna do the Wars of the Roses. We're just gonna push it to a future season. So then we're like, well, what play are we going to do? And 2 things came together really nicely. One was the play we were going to do the following season was Midsummer Night's Dream. And also, we want to talk about a play that's a celebration of love and life and the verve of living. It's this play. So I think the reason we chose it is because it's a good play. People are getting vaccinated. Good news is starting to come forward. We want to come to the theater to celebrate life, to see that dreams can come true, and that we can get back and begin to get back to normal. And I think this play says all those things for us.
Plus, it's my favorite Shakespeare to see outside. You want to see it under the stars if you can. It's a beautiful thing.
A really fun moment we have in the production is Puck says, he runs off to go get the magic flower. And he says, I'll put a girdle round about the earth in 40 minutes. So he will go running and taking off in that direction. And the whole audience will watch him until he completely disappears. And then about 5 minutes later, he'll come running in from this side, still yelling, screaming, until he finally gets here and he's gone all the way around the world. Well, we couldn't create that moment in an indoor theater. We just couldn't. So there's fun things we can do that we otherwise just couldn't do.
And we cannot wait to do them. Thank you, everyone, for this time. This is all the time we have together today. Thanks for all of your questions, viewers, and who are tuning in. And thank you so much for joining us. Do not forget to book your tickets to A Midsummer Night's Dream. We start April 31st, any minute now, and we go all the way to we start March 31st, and we go all the way to April 17th. And right after Midsummer Night's Dream, Little Shop of Horrors. Join us for this musical comedy, Little Shop of Horrors, that everybody loves. Who doesn't love that musical? It's hilarious, and it's going to be magical at the Lake Eola Amphitheater as well. We start that show May 5th to the 23rd, and while you're watching both shows, you can enjoy a lovely cushion. This cushion has a quote about the character Bottom from Midsummer Night's Dream, of course. You're going to find comfort for your bottom with our Bless Thee Bottom, Bless Thee seat cushions, available for purchase for only $15 now at the at our website at orlandoshakes.org. And we cannot wait to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you down at the lake for live performances very soon.